ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Okay, so you are reading verse 6 from teaching the Queen Kunti. I'll continue from here. Krishna is so merciful that if we want to use our senses in a certain way, he will give us the chance to do so. The senses are not ours, they are Krishna's. But Krishna gives us the opportunity to use them according to our desires. For example, each of us has a tongue. And suppose we want to eat stool, we may say, Krishna, I want to taste stool. And Krishna will say, yes, take this body of a hog and eat stool. The master is present, Krishna. He will give us an appropriate body and remind us, my dear living entity, you wanted to eat stool. Now you have the proper body in which to do so. Similarly, if one wants to become a demigod, Krishna will give one a chance to do that also. There are 84 lakh forms of life, and if one wants to engage one's senses in a particular type of body, Krishna will give one the chance. Come on, here is the body you want, take it. But eventually, one will become exacerbated by using one's senses. Exacerbated, intensely irritated, frustrated. Eventually, one will become frustrated by using one's senses. Ultimately, one will become senseless. Therefore, Krishna says, Sarvadharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam vraja. Don't act like this. Your senses are meant for serving me. You're misusing your senses and are therefore being trapped in different types of bodies. Therefore, to get relief from this tedious business of accepting one body and then giving it up to accept another and again another in continued material existence, just give up this process of sense gratification and surrender unto me. Then you will be saved. This is Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada is so clearly explaining here. Can it be spelt out more explicitly than this? That we should not be using our senses for our gratification. Even though we have heard this zillion times, we find it difficult. We find it difficult actually because of long misuse. So we've been misusing our senses for so long that now actually proper use seems difficult. Hmm. And that is why actually if one experiences excessive suffering in this body, they can actually come to this stage being exacerbated, being frustrated. Actually, we don't have to come to this stage before accepting Krishna as the Supreme Lord and that he is the master. But if we are not willingly able to accept it, then the only way to realize it is through suffering. So it's intelligence to not wait till suffering comes for us to learn. Mm. So we should understand that we should give up this tedious business of accepting one body and then giving it up to accept another and again another. And for that, what we need to do? Give up this process of sense gratification. Process of surrender unto Krishna. Surrender unto me, Krishna is saying, means surrender unto Guru, surrender unto Vaishnavas. Then you will be saved. See, some very important words have been used in this paragraph. One is this exacerbated. The other is this tedious business of changing body. And the only way we can get saved is by surrendering unto Krishna. And this is Krishna consciousness. At the present moment, our senses are contaminated. I'm thinking I'm American, so my senses should be used for the service of my country, my society, my nation. Or else I'm thinking I'm Indian and my senses are Indian senses, and therefore they should be used for India. In ignorance, one does not know that the senses belong to Krishna. Instead, one thinks that one has American senses, Indian senses, African senses. This is called Maya, illusion. In material life, the senses are covered by designations such as American, Indian, African. But when our senses are no longer contaminated by all these designations, Sarvopadi Vinirmuktam, Bhakti begins. Sarvopadi Vinirmuktam Yat Paratvena Nirmalam. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchate. But actually, we are still contaminated by designations. Like I said, some of these are very deep rooted in us, so it almost looks impossible to come out. But we should always see that bhakti is most powerful because bhakti actually has the power to attract Krishna itself. Bhakti is Sarvakarshini. Krishna Karshini. Krishna is Sarvakarshaka and Bhakti is Krishna Karshini. So even though our contaminations might be very powerful, deep-rooted, etc., if we depend on Krishna, if you depend on Acharyas, if you depend on Guru, follow the process, then in course of time we will be free from all these contaminations. But it almost seems like our anarthas are so powerful that bhakti seems powerless in front of our anarthas. But that's not true. That's not true. Otherwise, Krishna wouldn't have told Arjuna, Traigunya Vishaveda Nistraigunya Bhava Arjuna. To raise above these three gunas is the process is bhakti. And Arjuna remembers this statement that Krishna has made in second chapter. Then later he asks, what is the process, Krishna? And Krishna says bhakti. All contaminations can be overcome by bhakti. But we should not do bhakti and want to continue to hold on to contaminations. That is the problem. How do we get rid of the desire to hold on to contaminations? By regular shravanam, association of. Actually, there is one statement which I don't know if I explained before. Association must be of like-minded devotees. Must be with like-minded devotees. What does this mean? Can somebody explain? What is association with like-minded devotees mean? Association actually means like-minded devotees. Nobody wants to explain or try to say what it can mean? Like-minded means.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
And that means association with the like-minded people means we should associate with those devotees who want to serve Krishna, and that is 24 by 7 Krishna service or Krishna's thoughts in mind. Like with that people, if you associate, our devotional service also will be increased. Our bhakti also will be increased.
Yeah, but that you can just say association with devotees. Right?
Yes,
What is this
Prabhu.
like-minded? Why this like-minded word is there? What is the meaning of that like-minded?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, can I say?
Yeah,
Yes.
Mataji, please.
Hare Krishna. See, Prabhuji, when I initially came into ISKCON, like I was not, I mean, like we are so much in, like as you keep saying, we are so much into sense gratification. If I got a very serious devotee, a very fanatic, maybe I wouldn't have continued. Like in the beginning, they said, "Oh, it's okay. You can just watch the TV. You can see the cinema. It's okay." They don't tell you about sex immediately. Okay, no, you have to only do it for this thing. So mindness, you go with the wave. Then slowly, step by step, they teach you. Then now when you associate, you find where you're progressing. So you join the band. That sort of a band. This is about how I got into this thing. So like mindedness. In the beginning, like it was frivolous. Then you become then you join devotees who are better than you, then better than you. Then you see people who are more serious, and then you join them. You're in the process, yes, but then you're progressing.
Okay. Anybody else wants to share any thoughts? Yeah, okay. So 2 levels we can answer this like-minded. Yeah, it depends on our desire. For example, if I want to become a good drunkard, I'm going to associate with those people who are good drunkards, right? Then I will develop a good understanding of different types of liquor and this and that, and what is the best combination, what food to go along with that, what ambience to create, this, that, whatever. So much of nonsense can be talked about, right? Just with respect to being a drunkard. Now, if I'm not in the association with those experts in the drinking field, then I might just not be able to I'll not be able to extract the best out of drinking business. So there I have to associate with people who are drunkards, right? And expert at it. So in bhakti also, there are 2 things we can think of. One is like what Sumandra Mataji said, yeah, based on our internal state, where we stand. For example, maybe, some devotees are not too serious. They're not very still serious about bhakti. It's okay. For those who are not serious about bhakti, better than going away from bhakti is to be in association of those devotees who will let them perform bhakti at their level. But ultimately, like-minded actually means in the same rasa. In the same rasa. That is what like-minded means. Meaning, if somebody wants to serve Krishna in Vatsalya rasa, then we should find those devotees who also have the mood to serve Krishna in Vatsalya rasa. No, but this is a very exalted topic. As in, we are stuck with sense gratification, right? Then what do we talk about? Like-minded association, rasa, and all these kind of things. So that is the reason why we are asked to read from Srila Prabhupada's books. If we treat spiritual life like material life, what does that mean? We think that spiritual life, material life, everything happens gradually, right? There's nothing abrupt. And so we'll think, yeah, spiritual life is also like that. So let's go step by step. Then what will we do with all these kind of strong statements that Prabhupada is saying in his books? We will ignore them. We will not take them seriously. Right? So when we are associated with like-minded as Srila Prabhupada wanted us to be, in the sense of being serious about bhakti, then when we associate with those devotees who are also serious in bhakti, then our contaminations will go. Right? And then we can actually come to the stage of talking about rasa or understanding rasa, or like really that is where we have to go. Where we are today is just our temporary fallen condition, contaminated condition. But this is not where, this is not our situation. I mean, this is not where we are supposed to be. We're supposed to make progress. Huh? So that contamination that is there, if I want to retain that contamination, then I will not associate with, for example, if I'm unwell and I want to retain that sickness, then I'll not go to the doctor. Because they'll say, if you go to the doctor, then he will fix me. Now, ask this question: does it make sense to remain sick at any stage in our life? It doesn't make sense to remain sick. That means we have to go to the doctor. So that this contamination is there in our heart should make us understand that no, this is diseased condition. I have to come out of it. Then I will associate with those devotees who are also trying to come out seriously from those contaminations. But if I want to hold on to it, like Prabhupada is writing here, Krishna is so merciful. If you want to use our senses in a certain way, he will give us the chance to do so. And then devotees tell, oh, Krishna is so merciful. He let me engage like this materially, like that materially. But do you think Krishna is really happy letting us do that? Because he knows that otherwise we might run away. So he's just giving it, but holding on to us, pulling us slowly, steadily. And so we should understand that Prabhupada is saying this because this contamination has to go. We have to come out of this contamination. And only then bhakti begins. Actual bhakti begins only when we come out of this material conception of life, as Prabhupada called it. Brahmabhuta prasannatma na sochati na kankshati samasarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. That bhakti is actual bhakti. What we are doing now is practice bhakti. See, beauty about spiritual life. Before initiation, we are practicing to practice bhakti. After initiation, we are practicing to practice bhakti. Only when we come to the Raganuga stage, we are actually practicing bhakti. Till then, we are only practicing to practice bhakti only. And sometimes we are satisfied that I'm in the training session only and I'm happy. Oh, okay, I'm happy being in the training session. But what about the real match? So if you want to be part of the real match, then contamination has to be zero. So we have to, otherwise why Prabhupada is stressing so much on these things? To think I'm an American, why shall I take to Krishna consciousness and worship a Hindu god is foolishness. If one thinks I am Mohammedan, I am Christian, I am Hindu, one is an illusion. One must purify the senses so that one can understand I am spirit soul, and the supreme spirit soul is Krishna. I am part and parcel of Krishna, and therefore it is my duty to serve Krishna. When one thinks in this way, one immediately becomes free. And this is a very initial stage, thinking about our service to Krishna as our duty. But even by just engaging, this is Vaidhi Bhakti. My duty is to serve Krishna. This is Vaidhi Bhakti. When one thinks in this way, one immediately becomes free. This itself is good enough. What about talking about real stage of bhakti? At that time, one is no longer American, Indian, African, this or that. At that time, one is Krishnaized or Krishna conscious. That is what is wanted. We should be Krishnaized. Therefore, Kunti Devi says, my dear Krishna, Rishikesha, you are the master of senses. For sense gratification, we have fallen into this material condition and are suffering in different varieties of life. This one statement is enough to wake us up if we are not awake. For sense gratification, we have fallen into this material condition. For sense gratification, we are suffering in different varieties of life. Because this is the material world, even Krishna's mother was put into suffering. Devaki was so advanced that she became the mother of Krishna, but still she was put into difficulties by her own brother Kamsa. That is the nature of this material world. The living entities in this world are so jealous that if one's personal interest is hampered, one will immediately be ready to give trouble to others, even to one's nearest relatives. The word khala means jealous. This material world is a world of jealousy and envy. I am envious of you and you are envious of me. The Krishna consciousness movement, however, is meant for one who is no longer jealous or envious. Nirmatsaranam satam, Bhagavatam says. Who is Bhagavatam for? Nirmatsarana, non-envious. By becoming free from jealousy and envy, one becomes a perfect person. Who are we envious about? We are all envious. Who are we envious about? Anybody wants to say? We all are envious. We are all envious about Krishna. We are all jealous that Krishna is the only enjoyer. So we are competing. We are competing with him. Competing with Krishna, saying, Krishna, why you have to be the only enjoyer? I'm also going to enjoy. First time I heard this, I was like a little bit taken aback, saying that how can I be envious of Krishna? But when I understood saying that, yeah, this envy means trying to enjoy independent of Krishna. So everybody in this material world, except those few pure devotees, are all envious of Krishna. Dharma projita kaitavatra paramo nirmatsaranam satam. Those who are jealous and envious are within this material world. Those who are not are in the spiritual world. Those who are not envious, who want to serve Krishna, who want Krishna's pleasure, who want Krishna's happiness, they are not worried about their happiness. In the spiritual world, there is no question of individual jiva's happiness. Even a stone wants to serve Krishna in the spiritual world. Therefore, we can test ourselves. If we are jealous or envious of our friends or other associates, we are, whether we are, we are in the material world. And if we are not jealous, we are in the spiritual world. There need not be doubt. There need be no doubt of whether we are spiritually advanced or not. We can test ourselves. Bhakti pareshanu bhavo viraktirannatracha. When we eat, we can understand for ourselves whether our hunger is satisfied. We don't have to take a certificate from others. Similarly, we can test for ourselves whether we are in the material world or the spiritual world. If we are jealous or envious, we are in the material world. And if we are not, we are in the spiritual world. If one is not jealous, one can serve Krishna very well. Because jealousy and envy begin with being jealous of Krishna. For example, some philosophers think, why should Krishna be God? I'm also God. This is the beginning of material life, to be envious of Krishna. Why should Krishna be the enjoyer? I shall also be the enjoyer. Why should Krishna enjoy the gopis? I shall become Krishna and make a society of gopis and enjoy. This is Maya. No one but Krishna can be the enjoyer. Krishna therefore says in Bhagavad Gita, Bhoktaram Yajna. I am the only enjoyer. If we supply ingredients for Krishna's enjoyment, we attain the perfection of life. But if we want to imitate Krishna, thinking, I shall become God, tiny God, I shall become tiny God, I shall not become big God. I'll become tiny God of my house, of my family. I shall become God and enjoy like Him. Then we are in Maya. Our natural position is to provide enjoyment for Krishna. In the spiritual world, for example, Krishna enjoys and the gopis, the transcendental covered girls, supply the ingredients for Krishna's enjoyment. It's a very high topic. Everything that they do, and even the way they dress, the way they stand, sit, sleep, eat, everything. The gopis supply ingredients for Krishna's enjoyment. That is why many times, we should not go into discussing these very high spiritual topics without sufficiently understanding the tattva behind that rasa. I've seen many times in classes devotees speak about Radha Krishna and gopis, and because they've not been able to actually enter into the mood of the gopis, it almost, when they're speaking, it sounds like sense enjoyment. Because nothing that the gopis do is for their sense enjoyment. It is just for Krishna's enjoyment. And this is bhakti. Bhakti is a relationship between master and servant. The servant's duty is to serve the master, and the master supplies whatever the servant needs. Nityo nityanam chetanas chetananam eko bahunam yo vidadati kaman. The Vedic literature informs us that Krishna can supply all the necessities for one's life. There's no scarcity and no economic problem. We simply have to try to serve Krishna, and then everything will be complete. If Krishna desires, there may be ample supplies. In America, for example, there's an ample supply of everything needed, although in other countries this is not so. For instance, when I went to Switzerland, I saw that everything there is imported. The only thing supplied locally is snow. This is all under Krishna's control. If one becomes a devotee, one will be amply supplied with food. And if one does not become a devotee, one will be covered with snow. Everything is under Krishna's control. So actually there is no scarcity. The only scarcity is a scarcity of Krishna consciousness. Of course, the world is full of dangers, but Kunti Devi says, because Devaki is your devotee, you saved her from the distresses imposed upon her by her envious brother. As soon as Devaki's brother heard that his sister's eighth son would kill him, he was immediately ready to kill Devaki. But Devaki's husband pacified him. It is the duty of a husband to protect his wife, and therefore Devaki's husband said, my dear brother-in-law, why are you envious of your sister? After all, your sister will not kill you. It is her son who will kill you. That is the problem. So I shall deliver all the sons to you, and then you may do whatever you like with them. Why should you kill this innocent newly married girl? She is your younger sister, and you should protect her, just as you would protect your daughter. Why should you kill her? In this way, he placated Kamsa, who believed Vasudeva's word that he would bring all the sons so that if Kamsa wanted, he could kill them. Vasudeva thought, let me save the present situation. After all, if Kamsa later gets a nephew, he may forget this envy. But Kamsa never forgot. Instead, he kept Devaki and Vasudeva in prison for a long time, Atichiram, and killed all their sons. Finally, Krishna appeared and saved Vasudeva and Devaki. Therefore, we must depend on Krishna, like Devaki and Kunti. After Kunti became a widow, the envious Dhritarashtra was always planning ways to kill her sons, the 5 Pandavas. Because by chance I was born blind, he thought, I could not inherit the throne of the kingdom, and instead it went to my younger brother. Now he is dead, so at least my son should get the throne. This is the materialistic propensity. One thing is, I shall be happy, my sons will be happy, my community will be happy, my nation will be happy. This is extended selfishness. No one is thinking of Krishna and how Krishna will be happy. Rather, everyone is thinking in terms of his own happiness. How shall I be happy? How will my children, my community, my society, my nation be happy? Beware, we shall find this. Everyone is struggling for existence, not thinking of how Krishna will be happy. Krishna consciousness, very sublime. We should try to understand it from Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and try to engage our senses for the service of the master of the senses, Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam. Then we shall actually be happy. So Prabhupada is saying here, why should we do sense gratification? Why should we stop sense gratification? Because then we will stop being envious of Krishna. And only if we stop being envious of Krishna will we start depending on Krishna. Complete surrender to Krishna means complete end of our envy towards Krishna. Otherwise, why will we surrender to somebody? If we are envious towards with a person, why will we surrender to that person? So if we have to surrender to Krishna, that means that we have to stop being envious of Krishna. And then we can depend on Krishna. Then Krishna will protect us. So the process is to stop this sense gratification and think about how Krishna will be happy. This is what we have to do. In 100% of our life, 100% of our time, we should only keep thinking about this, how Krishna will be happy. It's not a very difficult thing. It's not a very difficult thing to think how Krishna will be happy, isn't it? But it's so difficult to think how we will be happy. Oh my God, so many problems. Get over this problem. Oh, I thought by getting over this problem, I'll be happy. Now another problem is up there. So thinking about how I will be happy is very difficult, tedious business. But thinking about how Krishna will be happy is such a easy, happy business. It's not difficult at all because anyway, Krishna can get whatever he wants, right? If a desire, devotee simply desires, okay, now I want to serve Krishna like this. And Krishna will, by his own Ichcha Shakti, will make it happen. Right? But we have to just think about it. How can Krishna be happy? How can I serve such that Krishna will be happy? So like Prabhupada said, scarcity is not for material things. Scarcity is for Krishna consciousness. And people have so much of money in today's world. People have money, people have position, people have this, people have that. People don't have Krishna consciousness. So we should distribute Krishna consciousness, distribute Prabhupada's books, distribute this sublime knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. That will make us also happy. It will make others also happy. Okay, anyway, so this whole verse has been focused on putting a full stop, comma, semicolon, whatever you will to sense gratification. Eventually, it has to become a full stop. But till then, at least we can start by putting dot, 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 meaning some pause, comma, semicolon, whatever we want. But let's not engage in sense gratification in full swing. Right? Because that's the root to unhappiness. Happiness means how to make Krishna happy. That's the only thing that is going to give us happiness. Engage our senses for the service of the master of things. Okay, I'm going to stop here. Anybody has any questions, comments? Yeah, by the way, just one thing I want to mention is Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita that Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya tehinah tasvartam rasopyasya param drishtava nivartate. We also have to let ourselves, give ourselves an opportunity to experience that higher taste. But if we are not giving ourselves a chance to experience higher taste, and if we are stuck with lower taste of this material world, then we'll never come to understand saying that there is something higher that I should let myself experience. And this higher taste, the happiness of this higher taste keeps on increasing based on the extent of our surrender, that taste goes on increasing. For example, most of us do our bhakti within what I call within our limits or comfort zone. We want to do bhakti within our comfort zone, meaning I am okay with doing so much, so I will do. But this devotee will not experience excessive happiness in spiritual life because he is holding himself back. But when we go out of our comfort zone and try to do bhakti, then the happiness we experience also goes beyond our material limitations. Those devotees who surrendered their whole life for Krishna took so much of risk for spreading Krishna consciousness. We should ask such devotees how much happiness they experience in Krishna consciousness. So much happiness they experience in Krishna consciousness that they cannot think of anything else at all. How did they come to experience that? Because they came out of their comfort zone for Krishna. For Krishna's pleasure, they came out of their comfort zone. So we should also try to come out of our comfort zones. Comfort zone by definition means that we will end up having a very limited experience of bhakti because we are within our comfort zone and we want to only do so much. But Krishna is unlimited. When we unlimitedly try to serve Krishna, then we'll experience unlimited happiness. So this is also very important, coming out of our comfort zone. That's also part of our sense gratification business. Okay, stop here. Any questions, anybody?